All right, now. Welcome back to Road to a Record Deal. I'm your host, Designer Dave, your local lyricist, your local songwriter, your local rapper, producer, multi instrumentalist. Now, why do I say all those things to get started? So, this week, our theme is image and identity, but we're going to get to that in 1 second. So, first off, speaking of image, have had a little visage change since I last spoke with y'all, which I think is it's just the benefit of having facial hair and cool hair that I can like reappear as several different people when I feel like it. But no, I've been a little busy. I've been away. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these. Just been away traveling and doing different things. But let's talk about image and identity. So, when it comes to getting the attention of a record label, when it comes to carving out any sort of lane of success, you got to make sure that you have an identity and you have a vision for what your image is going to be. And that can be your literal image, right? Clothes you wear, facial hair, right? How you present yourself, right? That's an important thing to figure out as you are embarking on your journey as an artist. And me myself, I struggle with it. I think I'm getting to a point where it's becoming clearer, just because I've just put the time in. Again, I've been doing this for like almost 5 years now, and I've gone through a lot of evolutions. And part of what I think works for me that you guys are going to see soon, because I do have plans to drop in the near future, but I'm kind of one of those artists that I don't have a definitive, like, I don't really see myself as having a super definitive, this is my sound, this is exactly what I do, but I do have distinct eras. I have a lot of projects that are tucked away on the hard drive, and each one of them has a very distinct vibe and a very distinct aesthetic to it. And I think that is something that is to my advantage, because I can come out with so many different vibes and ideas, right? That I think the art itself becomes the vision and the image, just my own self. That's the theme, that's the common thread, you know? But again, identity, that's something, I feel it a lot in hip hop. How can you create an identity and create a lane for yourself in a genre where, you know, you can get a lot of the same, you get a lot of similar things in hip hop. But I'm working on it. I have projects that are more instrument based and more methodical, and projects that are a little more upbeat and a little more sample heavy. So it's all a rich tapestry. That's something that I'm figuring out right now, because another thing that I'm doing that I will share more about in the future is songwriting, and songwriting with other artists in mind, because that was what I got my degree in at Berkeley, was songwriting. But I haven't really done much of it in the traditional sense. But it's actually been really fun trying to kind of capture the style of other artists and how they would do things, how they would approach music. And that's just been a really cool experience, and hopefully is something that will maybe in the future land me, if I don't get a record deal first, could maybe land me with a publishing deal. The songwriting has been fun, and I'm developing things. So I'll get into specifics. I have some projects that were very influenced by the Larry June and the Alchemist albums, that are they're trying to be like soul sample, like very smooth kind of music. I have some that are more abstract, that lean more into that Earl Sweatshirt style that I love so much and have talked about so much. And those are really fun too. But right now I'm kind of working on synthesizing something that's a little truer to, well, not truer, but something that is a little more unique, and something that kind of blends my strengths as an artist and as a musician. Because for me, the whole image thing and identity, it's tricky for me, because I'm a multi hyphenate. I'm a rapper, I'm a songwriter, I'm a producer, I'm a guitarist, I'm a bassist, I'm a drummer, I'm a singer. I'm all these different things, and it's kind of, I I have a harder time presenting myself as all of those things, believe it or not. And I was gonna say, I'm also bicultural, right? I'm Brazilian, I'm Brazilian American, and I think that as well has kind of contributed to me feeling a little out of place my whole life, and a little bit like I don't know where I fit in, because I'm so many different things. I'm not 100% Brazilian, nor am I 100% American, so it can feel strange. But for that reason, I actually kind of like putting, like boundaries up for almost like boxing myself in. Because if I box myself in, at least I know what arena I'm working in. Oh, okay, like I'm trying to just sample on this album. Okay, I'm trying to just sing. Like no rapping on this project. So it's one of those things that for me, I actually find a lot of freedom in limitations, which I think is different for a lot of people. I feel like most people, they like to be broad. But with that said, I think so many people, so many artists have this thing of like, oh, you know, is this for, especially with like bands and stuff. I'm trying to think of, like bands that have done that where they're like, they have to figure it out. They're like, oh, is this a The Who thing or is this a Pete Townsend thing? Is this something that is part of a group, or is this something that's more individual? Is this something that fits in with this aesthetic, or is it too much of a departure? And ultimately, I think being different is cool, but if you know that your project, right, whatever it may be, has its own distinct vibe, right, then you stick with it. I've been influenced a lot right now by Primus, actually, of all bands. I've just really been loving the dissonance and the craziness that Les Claypool comes with. But that's so unique that I don't know, like, if getting different projects out of him they would probably go into different categories. I know that Les has other projects as well. But, super, super unique approach, right? But it works because it's so unique. And I feel like right now I'm kind of trying to work on this blend of like literal like folk music and hip hop and rap. And I want to see what I can come up with, because I think that I've been doing a lot of sampling over the last year and a half, which has been amazing, but I have a real gift for melody as well. And it's going to be fun to try and kind of explore that and see how I can blend this more traditional singer-songwriter style with the hip hop world. And I'm excited to do that. But anyway, all of this is to say that I'm thinking about image and identity and how I can convey what I represent to as many people as possible to hopefully develop a fandom. That's what we're trying to build here. And I thank you guys for watching and for tuning in. So I think that's going to do it for today. But Road to a Record Deal, Designer Dave, signing off.